Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. I'm your host for today, Ken Tucker, and I'm joined by Ian, Jeff, and Paul as usual. Hey, guys.
Yep.
So this is going to be fun because it's going to be probably stream of consciousness answers because I didn't really give these guys our topic until just a couple of minutes ago. We're going to talk today about what gives us joy in marketing. I really do love what I do, and I dig into it, and I spend a lot of time learning and understanding it. I buy way too many tools partly because I do have shiny object syndrome. I admit it, but I also love learning about different features and different capabilities that might add value. And sometimes I discover that a feature is available in one tool that I purchased, but I didn't realize it because it's kind of buried. But I only discover it because I bought a tool that specifically highlighted and called that out, and I experiment around, and then it's like, I get to look and it's like, oh, okay, this is an awesome feature, So I mean, that's kind of what, gets me excited. But I wanted to go around and just ask you guys, we're going to go through a couple of different variations of this concept of joy or what we find to not be so joyful. So Ian, let me start with you. What do you really just personally like to do in the world of marketing that you just think is a blast?
I mean, the part that gets me super excited is when I see the results that we produce for clients, right? And I think we all feel that way. Like when we can produce results for clients and it impacts their bottom line, and even more than that, it makes their businesses thrive and helps them thrive as people in business. I think that to me is like the highest form of success for us as marketers. And then of course there's the building of our own businesses. But as far as like things we do for clients that I absolutely love, I was going to say it's a love-hate relationship, but it's mostly love. And that's SEO. Like I absolutely love search engine optimization. I love it because when it's working well, it will be one of your highest ROI forms of marketing you can do, and it keeps getting better and better if you can keep improving it and if you can keep investing in it. We track all sorts of ROI for our clients, especially if they're really trying to figure out from a cost standpoint what's working, what's not. It's very easy to do from a paid ad side. And then from an organic side, you need to put a lot of tracking mechanisms in there. But if you do it, you're then able to show ROI over time. And so when we've done that for our clients, organic results, when done well, will far, like I'm talking 100 times, way higher return on investment than paid ads. And it's not something that it's almost an equity you build in the business. Paid ads is immediately stoppage if you stop paying, right? So
it's an expense. I mean, it's an expense. It may give you a return, but it's not an investment in your business, paid ads. So
yeah. And SEO paid ads is great. Don't get me wrong. Like we love it, exactly. especially if a client has not invested well in organic results in the past. And we know that it's going to take time to get those results. Paid ads is wonderful. And it's also a wonderful layer. The one thing I would say about SEO is that and this is why I like it, because I'm a problem solver by nature. And I love cracking the codes. I love those spy movies where they're cracking codes and stuff like that. And SEO is always like that. Like it has not stayed stagnant for, 1 year that I've been doing it. Every year, every 3 months, it's radically changing. There's new, Google's updating algorithms, or the tools are changing, or there's new ranking factors, whatever it is. What stays the same is that you're trying to be the most relevant result for the people searching for your product or service, right? Yeah. And to me, that's basic marketing.
Well, it's kind of a game. You get feedback over time. It's not instantaneous feedback, which I think can be really frustrating for a lot of people. Everybody's wired a little bit differently. Some people love to do things that give them immediate results, and that's what they find joy in doing. Other people like, the more analytical, process-driven, results-driven, long-term kinds of things. So it sounds like you're very much the latter.
Yeah, I mean, I love instant results. It's just in our world, instant results usually aren't lasting results a lot of time,
Right,
right?
right,
So
right.
so
Yeah,
for my own business, for my clients, I want lasting results.
yeah. I do want to clarify something that I said, which I think is kind of a misrepresentation. Paid ads is not a throwaway
Mm.
thing if you do it right. But unfortunately, most businesses don't do it right. They literally treat it as an expense. They pay, they run ads, they shut off the ad account, and they walk away and they go do something else, or they launch a brand new campaign. Paid ads actually have massive value if you learn from the data. And so you can build a campaign, even if it's only a short-lived campaign, even a couple of months, campaign, as long as you take and learn from that data before you build your next campaign, and you do testing and you do audience segmentation and all that, which is also going to feed into the SEO work that you want to do. So I kind of made it a flippant statement there, but it's really because most people, they really do just think ads are churn and burn, just run them and I'm done and I'm moving on. And unfortunately, a lot of agencies perpetuate that way of thinking,
Yeah.
and they leave the clients high and dry. They run their ad campaigns, they don't share any of the data. None of the data is owned by the client, and the poor client has to start from scratch. So
And
anyway,
And I think,
there's no set it and forget it marketing, period, right? Like I can't think of one marketing channel where you can just do some work and leave it. Like paid ads now is constant form of optimization. Like Google has made that part of the system. All the
right,
platforms require it. If you want to get the highest results and the best cost per click value, the best cost per conversion, the best cost per acquisition, you need to be in there all the time and you need to be optimizing. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, I think what you just said bears repeating a little more, in that ads on the surface appear to be an expense. You pay money, you get something from them. You stop paying money, you don't get anything from them. But you're absolutely right. It's the learning that you get, the testing that you can get, but also you can use it to build audiences, right? You can use ads to drive traffic, especially a small business starting out early on. You can use ads to drive traffic and then use retargeting on the website to build audiences. So there's that. In that sense, I'd say ads are maybe like 80% expense, 20% investment.
yeah,
And then the other thing is you mentioned the learning you get. And yeah, that's absolutely true. You can test keywords, see which keywords are getting the hits. You can test headlines, if you will. The ad first headline piece of it, or the snippet that shows. You can do A/B testing on those, and that brought to mind Perry Marshall. I mean, we all know Perry Marshall. He's got a great book, 80/20 Sales and Marketing. He actually picked the title of that book from A/B testing some Google ads. He was in the authorship of it. I remember him talking about that, and that was an A/B test of a Google ad to do something like that. So yeah, there's all kinds of things that you can get that will then carry on through to other things. But by themselves, is the way a lot of agencies run them. It's a pure expense. So you gotta be thinking ahead and planning it in, integrating it into the system, making it part of the holistic marketing and one element of omnichannel.
well, and if I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but if you build an ad campaign and you learn from it in the right way and you've got it optimized, you can clone that ad campaign. And let's say it's for driving traffic to a webinar, but now you want to have somebody download an ebook. I mean, that the ad structure and what you learned, there's a lot of portability there. But sadly, most people don't do that. They literally start from scratch each and every time, and it's just they're throwaway campaigns, and it drives me nuts.
So I think that's one of the dangers. And it's not just Google. There's many platforms that make it easy. And as soon as you delegate, you hit the easy button and you let it start writing copy for you. You let it start writing headlines. You let it start figuring out whatever it needs to do. Now the AI is in the picture to just get clicks.
Yeah.
If you're delegating all that, you're giving up a lot, and you're giving up opportunities to learn. You're giving up opportunities to control how it goes and direct it to the results that you want.
Yeah. So Jeff, I'm going to go to you next. What do you like to do? What do you think is just that you have a lot of fun doing in terms of any aspect of the marketing work that you do?
Yeah, I'll kind of answer that from 2 points. I think, like Ian said, getting results for clients. I mean, we all love getting results for clients. For me, it's even more to when we see the clients showing better in the marketplace, it's not just about numbers. Now, I'm an engineer by background. I'll talk about that in a minute. But, don't get me wrong, I look at spreadsheets all day. But to me, it's not just about the numbers and the results. That's part of it. But it's really seeing the clients we work with pull ahead from the competition. We're working with a roofer in town, when the roofer starts to show results that are equal to the big boys, the big companies, when they start to say things like, we are now getting our results from Google instead of ads or word of mouth, Google SEO. That's when we start seeing them showing up in that qualitative kind of way as well as quantitative. That's on the external side what I really love. On the internal side, I'm an engineer by deep background. I joke I'm on career 3.0. I can't hold a job. Career 1.0, 1.5, we're in the engineering world. I was a chip designer in the Cube. And then I moved to small business ownership, career 2.0, and now marketing agency. But the engineer in me loves solving problems and building things. And that's a source of great joy and a source of great frustration, because there are so many bright, shiny objects and so many things that are changing. And it's a lot to keep up with. And then I can take that back to a value add. When I can take that off a homeowner's plate and see them go, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to deal with that anymore. I'm glad I got you running it for me. That's really gratifying too.
Yeah.
So, intrinsically, it's solving problems and building things. Externally, it's, working with customers and getting results. And then there's also a little part of me that likes the education aspect. When I joined the Duct Tape Marketing Network, we've talked about duct tape a lot. It was very much a coaching orientation. I thought I was just going to be a marketing coach, and then wound up going all in. So many business owners would say, that's great, I understand it, but I don't have time to do it. Can you do it for me? But the coaching and education aspect is still there. I like explaining things to people, and even if they don't necessarily go off and do it themselves, at least they understand it. And that, I think, is something too that so many agencies are missing. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We're just going to give us dollars, we'll get some magic results. And we don't, you don't need to worry about how, you don't need to worry about whether they're going to last when you stop it. I like kind of demystifying things and letting people know what's going on and making them involved as they want to be in it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a philosophy major as an undergrad, and I love learning. I always have. I don't read recreational much anymore, because most of what I read is, to stay on top of what's going on in my profession, because that's really what I love. It may sound crazy, but it's where I get my biggest joy, I think. That, and I love looking at the big picture and figuring out how the pieces fit together, and really come together. We've got this big toolbox, and it's like fun to pluck this out over here and this out over here after we understand what really is truly needed, to best support a client and build a marketing system for them. We've got, some go-to things that, are almost always, good things to consider. Google business profiles for local business, for example, that's a no-brainer. But it's fun to be able to add some of those additional tools to the toolkit. So, and I love learning about those additional tools, and just the latest marketing trends and success stories that people are getting and different ways to do different things. And, to me, I'm like you, Jeff. I think I'm not an engineer because I hate detail work and that drives me insane, but I like it enough to where that's always piqued my interest. But what I really love, and why I left the world of information technology back in 2005, is because I love the creativity of marketing. Mm-hmm. So, Paul, how about you? What do you find joy in, if anything?
That's an interesting question for me, because anyone that knows me, I'm a pragmatic, technically oriented person, and for me, kind of going off what Jeff said, I like building things. I love marketing automation and building those automations. AI bots, which is something not completely new, but fairly new. And, building a couple bots for some clients, it was both frustrating and enjoyable, because there was a lot of problems that needed to be solved. And I love learning things and learning how these different tools work. I think it was Jeff was talking about one of the SEO tools that we use, and there's all kinds of things in there. And I spent a lot of time diving into that and learning the nuances of it and how it works. And I'm like, they should pay me to find all their bugs, because I spend a lot of time going back and forth with tech support saying, well, this doesn't work or this doesn't work. And there's a part in that tool where you set up your crawl settings, and it was applying them globally, not per client. So I sent them a Loom video, and I'm like, this is not right, because this site is bigger than this site. So these settings need to be different than these settings. And they're like, oh yeah, well, let me send that to the developers. It's like, well, it never should have happened in the first place. But
in the world of modern software development, that is the norm, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm waiting to hear back from them on that. But yeah, I like building things. I mean, I do interact with customers, not to the extent that Ken does, or maybe anyone else, but yeah, I like building things. I love building the marketing automations and learning how these things work and deploying these solutions that we come up with.
Yeah, I would say one thing that probably binds all four of us together is we love systems, and having systematized ways of doing things, and working toward driving, to the extent that you can, predictable results, and so that, that's I think that's a trait we all probably share, and obviously we all get a little bit of joy out of that aspect as well. So Paul, I'm going to start with you. I want you to go into a little bit more depth. Why do you like, and I want to talk tactics here, not customer results. Why do you guys like to do specific things? Paul, you talked about marketing automation. Why do you like to do that so much?
I think it's just the way I'm wired, so to speak. I mean, there's some people that are very creative, and they like, it's like, okay, why are you creative? Why do you like doing this? Why is someone a good engineer and someone is a good guitar player? It's just, I think part of it is just the way your brain is wired. But I think it comes down to solving problems. When you're building a marketing automation or you're building an AI bot, you might not think of that as solving a problem, but you are. And you have to, with the AI bots, you have to teach this bot its artificial intelligence, and you have to build it and customize it for each individual customer. And basically, I think it comes down to problem solving. And I guess it's, Ray, we all know Ray, and he gives me shit about, because the only thing I watch on TV is PBS. It's all educational, and I like learning things. And maybe that's what it comes down to, is I like learning things. And every time I build a marketing automation, every time I build an AI bot, I'm learning something.
Hey, side note, Paul, can I ask you if you have any favorite YouTube channels in that vein?
Not really. I mean,
Not really. You can't ask you, or
no, the YouTube channels I watch, and it goes back to the whole educational thing.
Yeah,
it has to do. It's the tools that we use in the industry. That's pretty much what I watch on YouTube.
Well, check out, if you haven't checked them out, check out Veritasium and Smarter Every Day. Those guys are brilliant. There's a few others in that same vein, but Veritasium and Smarter Every Day, particularly, those guys are really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So Paul, it sounds to me like, one of the things that why you like that is because it's playing to your strengths. It's playing to something that you feel you're just kind of naturally wired to do. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that's really important. I think back, I am not a big, I don't dislike him, but I've never been a huge Van Halen or Van Hagar fan or Sammy Hagar. But Sammy Hagar, if you live in St. Louis, I mean, he is king here. I mean, just massive. But the thing is, I take my hat off to him because when you watch him perform, there's just such joy. He absolutely seems to just absolutely love what he does. And I think it's so important for people, if you have that luxury, not everybody does, sadly, but if you do, to have, you know, to have something that gives you joy that you can do as your job is a fantastic thing to do. So, Jeff, let's go to you.
Was that?
Oh, sorry. Go
Before you
ahead.
do, I think there's actually a saying. What's that? If you love what you do, you never have to work another day in your life. Something like that.
Huh.
I probably butchered it. It's probably two different sayings that I put together, but something along that.
But it may be a new meme.
Maybe a new what?
Meme.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
And then I grew up in Vermont, so of course Ben and Jerry's are the local heroes there. And even though they're not from Vermont, but we won't go there. But you know, they had the saying, it was like painted on the wall in the shop. You know, if it's not fun, why do it?
Yeah, it's a good point. So is there any specific tactic that you really enjoy doing? Regardless of client results, just something that
yeah.
you do as a part of your job that you like.
Like Paul, I like automations and building things, although I don't do as much of those as he does for sure. I'm a little broader based. I've actually been doing a lot more working with AI tools lately, and that's kind of been intriguing me, as you know from past conversations and past podcasts. But matter of fact, I've got one running in the background right now. That's we'll see what the results are when we get off the podcast. So yeah, I think, you know, again, it's figuring out how to put things together. So some of the automations and things, I've been doing more writing lately than in the past, which is kind of weird, you know, coming from an engineering background. I mean, look, this will date how old I am, because you can figure out when they changed the format of the SATs. But my math score on SATs was like 780, and my English was like 520. So to be now all of a sudden being more articulate, doing more, not all of a sudden, over many years, evolving to doing a lot more writing and writing and content taking up a big part of the job. Still not my favorite thing, but I've been doing a bunch of it. But yeah, I go back to the figuring out how things fit together in the automations. I also like organizing things. So I won't say I'm, you know, deep into writing process documents or anything, but when we talk about like spinning people up on CRMs, when they're been running their business on a spreadsheet and you open their eyes to what you can do with a CRM, how they can organize their data, how they can get more views from their data, how by changing the conversations they have with people to add a few more questions into it, or doing client interviews, all of a sudden you can start to build bigger pictures and then ways to look at what you're doing and judge whether it's effective or not. That's pretty cool too. So I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Paul, interestingly enough, I was at a conference and I ran into a guy, and I know you're a big fan of Scripps News, and he works for that corporation, and we had a wonderful set of conversations about AI. It was pretty cool. So I just wanted to share that with you. You know, sometimes you find interesting things happening even outside of work that still, you know, I mean, we were talking shop, you know, just after we were out socializing, it was kind of fun. So Ian, what tactic or tactics do you like to do?
Well, before I get into that, you might as well jump. Go ahead and jump, Ken.
Jump?
It's a Van Halen reference.
It's a Van Halen song, man. Come on. It's a great Van Halen song.
Yeah, it's not a Hagar song though. That wasn't
No.
yeah. So
yeah. It's funny, like, as I'm sure you guys do this occasionally, you know, when you're, you know, sitting under the stars or have a few moments of reflection, you wonder what is it that I actually love to do. And over the years, I've seen some common things, and I talked about problem solving, but I think orchestration is something I love about marketing. And it's actually what brought me into marketing. I originally studied as a graphic designer, web developer, did that for a number of years. But what drove me nuts was that people would come to you for a specific tactic. I need a brochure. I need a website. I need something that my competition is doing. And outside of that, they would have no strategic purpose. And you'd start to ask probing questions like, well, who's your ideal client? Well, what is your top performing service? Some people know that kind of stuff, but they've never actually put it into a plan. And so, that's what, our circle of friends here, our circle of guides, we all got connected because of our desire to learn strategy and a holistic approach to marketing and bring that to the marketplace. And that's what attracted us, I think, to Duct Tape Marketing. And so I would just say that holistic feel, that orchestration, which runs through SEO, which is a tactic, right? It's also a strategy. Automations like Paul's talking about and Jeff mentioned, like I love doing that because if you can orchestrate the right things, rarely does one marketing instrument get you where you want to go to play the music you want to play, which you're trying to achieve your goals. You need an orchestra. And, we'll get to the things I don't like in the marketplace or marketing, but one of those is out of tune marketing, right? So yeah, I would just say I that doesn't really fit the tactical question you're asking, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about when we talk about this subject.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I do love the orchestration aspect and fitting the pieces together. I love building solutions, and sometimes I build solutions that nobody wants, but they're fun to build. But most of the time I try to be really pragmatic, and I'm working on something right now that I am just super, super excited about that I can't share, but that's kind of the long game, kind of the big, the bigger efforts. Sometimes the thing I like to do is just hop on and build a website, or create a couple of pages on a website. It's almost like therapy to me. I mean, it's like you can see your idea come to life in a very short amount of time on a web page. If you're describing a product or a service or a solution, or if you're building, we've talked about, I love StoryBrand as an approach to putting together content, and so sometimes creating a brand new homepage for somebody, and actually building it, because they don't have to be two separate things. I mean, a lot of people want to segment, you have to go write this script and then you have to go build this website and then you have to go you can do it all at once in an integrated manner. Maybe not everybody can. I'm very comfortable doing that. And I think to me, they work really well hand in hand. And I think it accelerates the process, which I also love. But it's just great therapy. I mean, you get done, you look at a website, you pull it up, make sure it looks good on mobile. And it's like, I just did that. That's pretty cool. I mean, most of what we do, because we are all involved in strategy in some level, whether it's to develop a marketing strategy or, to implement an SEO strategy, you still have to be thinking strategically, why are these keywords not working? What do I need to add to it to get this to rank and all that kind of stuff? That's all strategy. That takes time. And it takes a long time to get payback sometimes on those things. And, today building a website, is almost instantaneous, building a web page, not a website. A website's a little bit more work, but building a web page, you get immediate feedback. It's something that's manageable. You're done with it in a relatively short amount of time and you get that feedback. It's a really nice compliment to most of the stuff that I wind up doing. So,
Ken, that's a really good point. And, I kind of draw back to my experience career 1.0 as an engineer working in the Cube. One of the things I really differentiate this business from that, even though I can play technical on both, is, literally when I was an engineer in the Cube, I worked on a project for a year and a half. The management team walked in one day and said, well, we misjudged the marketing window. We don't need this product anymore. We're going to cancel it. So you work on something for a year and a half and then it's gone. But in the marketing world, I mean, we see things happen fast. Like you said, you can put a web page up pretty quickly. You can get Google ads running in an afternoon, Facebook ads.
Yeah.
Some things take longer than others. Good SEO is going to take time, but the content itself will be up there. You can see the results. And that's pretty cool. That level of gratification on the work that we do and the rapid feedback. Yep.
Yeah, Paul, that may be one of the reasons why you like to do marketing automation too, because those are, even if they're fairly complex, you still get fairly quick feedback.
Yeah, and you do, and you're getting, like I said, it's educational, but and this is going to sound really weird, but it's when you you build this automation and then you start testing it, and it's like, oh, hey, that worked, and oh well, that didn't work, I guess I screwed that up, and you have to go back and fix it, but it goes back to that problem solving kind of thing. And it's the old cliche, you learn nothing from success, you learn from failure. And so you build something and it doesn't work, and it's like, okay, now I know. And it's how these things work together, because when you're building these automations, doing one thing wrong somewhere in that automation screws up the entire thing. And now you have to go back and figure out and you do that once, you're not going to do it again, because it can take you 3-4 hours to figure out what the hell you did wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I know exactly what you mean. There's that sense of, and that's that broadening.
Oh, that
It's
was
like,
really
I just learned
stupid.
something.
What was I thinking when I did that?
Yeah. Oh, we got to worry about that too. Or, oh, this might happen. And that now you're kind of operating on a higher
because
level. You're extending outward. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
This affects this. And if you're building automations that feed into other automations, you really have to map that process out.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have a mess.
One other thing, this is something I find extremely gratifying as a marketing consultant, and I don't know if you guys run across this. It comes and goes. It comes in waves, it seems, but that's I always classify it or have termed it, I'm a marketing therapist, meaning I have business owners coming to me, and the way they express themselves is like, hey, Ian, we've tried marketing. You're my last, I don't even know if you can help me or if you're another one of those guys, but we've spent, lots and lots of money on marketing for the last 10 years and we haven't seen the results. I'm almost ready to throw marketing out the door. Tell me what it is that you guys do that's different, right? And I think I always look at that as, first of all, I'm grateful that the person has been so honest with me, because quite frankly, I try to never lose sight that I'm also a business owner. And so when somebody entrusts their marketing time, their marketing spend, their effort, their opportunity cost to their business, right? Like all of those things, I take that very seriously. And I think you guys do too. But what I find so gratifying is if I can get somebody to step off the cliff of jumping off the, I'm done with marketing, and show them that there is a better way, right? Because usually they've tried, the one tactic method or the multi-vendor method and no strategic plan. And so, that's something I greatly enjoy doing. And again, it just comes when people come through my door with those kind of challenges. But
yeah, I always feel like I'm a physical, like I'm a personal trainer for somebody's marketing, or I'm a physician, for their marketing, where I've got to go in and I've got to diagnose what the problems are, and then I've got to prescribe the treatment to get things well again. And I could never do that.
Root cause analysis, right?
Yeah, I could never do that in the medical profession, but in the world of market, just because I'm squeamish. But I do get a lot of joy out of that for sure. So, all right. So we've talked about what we like. Let's talk about what we find to just be a pain in the butt. And I know we all have a lot, and we could probably make an entire episode out of this. And it's, it's the things that drag us down, because we are, I'm sure a lot of people say this, but I think we are all genuinely, we really want to help our clients, and that, that is huge to us, but it pulls me down whenever I feel like I can't do my job. for a variety of reasons. So let's see, Ian, I guess it's time for me to go back to you to start.
I think I'm not even gonna, again, I'm not fitting your mold for this topic, I guess, but because I always think, and we all do think bigger picture. That's not to cast a different view, but I would say the things that really I find challenging and troubling are when clients chase after the shiny objects. So shiny object syndrome. And this isn't just with, small business. I experience the exact same thing in the multinational Fortune 500 companies I worked in my corporate days, right? Like, the president would come along and say, hey, we need to do this. And the whole marketing department's like, you're crazy. That's not going to work, right? Like, trust your people.
Yeah.
And so, TikTok comes up occasionally with clients. And so we do some research. We've talked about TikTok before. TikTok can be a viable platform for some industries, for some businesses, that kind of stuff. But show me the data or throw some added expense or budget towards it. We'll test it, because marketing, if you're not aware, our listeners aren't aware, marketing is basically taking a hypothesis, putting it into play, measuring it, monitoring it, optimizing it, and tweaking it to get better results, right? But, even if you use best practice marketing, which we all do, we have systematic approaches to our marketing, you don't know it's going to work until you put it into place, right? The likelihood of it working, because we do follow best practices, is in the 99 percentile for most businesses we serve, right? But until you put it in play, you don't know. So, stuff like that, the shiny object syndrome at the expense of solid marketing, that stuff drives me absolutely crazy. I'm always trying to talk people down off of that ledge, because, social media in general is very deceiving, because we as consumers, our personal accounts can get a lot of views and we're very active in them, or some people are. And so that it creates this perception that social media is easy, but it's not for businesses. It's absolutely not. And rarely, especially in, professional services, stuff like that, like social media, I have yet to be proven wrong. I'm always open to being proven wrong. I don't like it, but I'm open to it. And that social media is
challenge for our listeners this week.
Seems like a challenge.
Yeah, challenge. But show me, like, how is social media going to outperform SEO, paid ads, email marketing? Like, for professional services, I have not been proven wrong yet. And I want to be, I want social media to prove me wrong, because so many people believe it. But things like that, I do find challenging.
And you're talking specifically organic social media. Not
Organic, or
paid
even paid ads sometimes. Paid, because the perception of social media paid ads is because the consumers are viewing them, right? Like, so if you're an active user on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever, the algorithms are showing what it thinks you as a consumer want to see as ads, as well as organic. And so they get this idea that, wow, it's going to work amazing. So I'll just give a super quick example. We serve accountants, amongst other people. One of our clients, professional services, saw an ad on TikTok. It happened to be the only, because I researched it, like, you can now go into the back end of TikTok. You can see on their ad platform who's advertising, just like you can for transparency on Facebook and Instagram. There's one account.
Does Facebook know what transparency is?
They're trying, I guess. I don't know. But there are ways for you as an advertising company to look at who else is advertising in your category. You can see some very rough stats in some of the platforms, and others you can't see very much, but there are ways to look. But the things that drive me crazy are when people see the shiny object, they look at an ad, they go, whoa, it's got, 3,000 views, 30,000 views, 300,000 views, whatever it is. And they say, oh, and it's got 50 comments. But they never looked at the comments, and all the comments are like, you suck, this is horrible, I'm not going to buy from you. And there's not
Buy
one
my stuff
positive
instead.
like, come
Yeah.
on, like, let's just
Yeah.
use data to drive your decisions, right? Don't just look on the it's the old adage, you can't judge a book by the cover, you can't judge an ad by its comments or by its stats unless you drill into those stats. So
Ian, while we're going down this rabbit hole, we talk a lot about who's your ideal client persona, their buying behaviors. What we don't talk about as much is that their behaviors vary based on the situation they're in, the environment they're in, right? I worked for a company for 5 years until they got bought out that did software for hospitals. We didn't advertise on Facebook. Now, hospital administrators maybe are on Facebook. They probably are. They're keeping up with their kids. They're unwinding. They're watching, Facebook Reels. They're not actively on Facebook looking at hospital software, hospital related things, healthcare performance improvement. They're doing other stuff. So if their behavior doesn't line up with the platform you think you should be on, even though they're in your target market, the platforms, the algorithms won't know it. It goes back to, I think Paul, you said, or maybe Ian, that, the algorithms are tuning for, let's show you if you're a CEO of a company, but you unwind at the end of the day by watching cat videos. Guess what? You're going to get a lot of ads for cat videos
or cat food,
reels or cat products, right? You're not going to get hospital related stuff because that's not how you use the platform. So I think, again, part of matching it is, go ahead.
And what's interesting with what you just said too, Jeff, is that depending on where you're located, that also plays into the algorithms, right? So if you're a hospital or an administrator in a hospital, or say you're a dentist and you don't actively, do a lot on social media in your place of work, you're giving less signals to the algorithms, right? So they can, they scan so much about us that they probably know anyways, but they're not going to be as effective for sure.
What do you think, Paul? Do they know?
What's that?
Do you think they know a lot about us, the algorithms?
I think they know everything. I think Google knows more about you than you do. And keep in mind, if you're going to do anything on TikTok, just recognize that TikTok's sole reason for existing is to steal your personal data.
Yeah, I always tell people, get another rabbit hole. I always tell people, you think all of these quizzes, what place should you retire to? What's your favorite, Disney character resembles you? They're not about telling you where you should retire or telling you who your
they are
Disney
not.
They are all about building profiles.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So Jeff,
that's why you don't give them honest answers. You screw with them. Like the people that call you and they're gonna send you. Oh, it was, remember the Spectrum scam where they wanted you to go get a Target gift card and they were gonna.
Oh, I strung one of those guys along for a whole day.
That's exactly what I did. I kept him on the phone for like 3 hours, and then I said, I know this is a scam. I was just going to screw with you.
And then I was going back and forth. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm really busy. I can't. I was just going back and forth for a while, and they wanted me to send them images of the card, right? So what I did was I sent them 10 images of somebody flipping the bird.
So Jeff, let's find out what brings you down when you have to do certain things or things that annoy you.
Yeah, well, I've talked about being an engineer, high analytical, and I'm sure Paul, you can appreciate this as well. We're detail oriented. We're, big picture, small details, fitting everything together. And when all those keep changing, deprecated is a word I wish was never invented, right? Mm-hmm. When everything keeps changing in the underlying pieces, parts, and how all of these things we use to build these systems keep changing, and you got to keep up with it, and you got to fix it, and you got to fix it again. That's a real drag. I turned that into a strength, saying, hey, I can do it. And by the way, Mr. Client, I can do it, so you don't have to. You could figure this all out and you could keep up with it all, but do you really want to? But yeah, just the minutia and the details of things that they're probably changing for good reason, but it seems that they change more often and unnecessarily. And that really drags you down when you're trying to fix something and it's broken because of some stupid thing some third party did because they didn't think of their customers. Yeah, that's a drag. And then, just the time it takes to keep up with everything is unnecessary overhead. Well, it's necessary overhead. I wish it was unnecessary, I should say. That's not my favorite thing in the world to do. But yeah, fighting with things to keep all the balls in the air is the thing that brings me down.
Okay. Paul, and keep in mind, we only have a few minutes left.
Okay, so are we going to do things that annoy really annoy us? Because I can get myself in a lot of trouble here.
I think it's important for people to realize the things that happen that keep us from being able to do the maximum that we can.
Well, I think one of the things, and this is fairly recent, and it's kind of a love-hate relationship, is Google Ads. Because I'm not going to say I hate Google Ads or hate doing them, but they're on a mission to be as obnoxious as Facebook. And, something Ian said earlier about Google constantly contradicts itself. So Ian said earlier, you have to be in there constantly optimizing. But Google will tell you that when you make a change, you should wait. And this is on the responsive search ads. You should wait 2 weeks before you do anything so the algorithm can adjust. And if you're running a Performance Max campaign, you should wait 4 weeks. It's like, well, that does not serve the client. Because if you're running a Performance Max campaign and you make a change, you change something, and now you have to wait 4 weeks to see if it made a difference, that's not serving the client whatsoever. And this isn't a client-based thing, but dealing with software platforms whose documentation sucks or is non-existent. I'm sure we have
all outdated.
Yes, are outdated. I'm sure we've seen that. And this is where I really get myself in trouble is clients they're going to do everything themselves, but then they think they should get free tech support. It happens to all of us. And that's just not a realistic expectation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are good points. For me, the thing that brings me down the most is sometimes our clients just won't let us get started, or it's not their fault necessarily. It's because of the relationship they had with a previous marketing company.
They have access to nothing.
Yeah, they have getting access to the accounts so that we can go do our job. We lose money every month, the first month, every month, because that is such a problem. I swear, I am not exaggerating. And I don't know if it's intentional by other marketing companies to sabotage good marketing companies so that they take the joy out of the beginning of a brand new project where you're hopeful and you're excited. And it's like, okay, finally, I figured out a company I'm comfortable with that's going to go help me get these results. And then the first month is just pure hell because you're trying to figure out where is their account? Why did they move their email, their MX records away from their domain to some crazy place? Why did they buy their domain in this really horrible place? And, why didn't they give the customer control? And I get, in some cases, there are some solutions where people want turnkey. They don't care about that stuff. They just want to, flip a switch and have stuff go. And, agencies a lot of times will buy domains, they'll set up emails, they'll build the Google ad campaigns on their platforms because they don't want to deal with these problems, which is, to me, it's kind of unethical. I think because I don't think any business really realizes that that's what's actually happening. But it's so frustrating. The other thing is, a client will go cheap because they say, we're going to do, we want you to do this, but we're going to do this piece and then give that to you. And then they never do. And then you can't ever get started. I mean, it just drives me nuts. It's like, don't be cheap with your marketing. It's like, are you going to build your house on quicksand? I don't think so. be honest and be realistic with yourself, and recognize that when we make a prescription, we're not just doing it to pad our wallets. Some people may be out there doing that. I don't deny that. I don't think any of us are going to do that. We're trying to genuinely build a really high performing solution to address a specific pain point or a set of pain points that our customers are having related to marketing. So, it's just those are the things, and I love my customers, I do, but sometimes, the scenarios that they put us in make it impossible for us to do the job. And this job's hard enough as it is. And a lot of times the results take a lot longer than most people think or expect. SEO is a perfect example. That is not flip the switch, get SEO started, and boom, day one, you're ranking for the keywords that are the most important for your business. We all try to drive fast results, and we may pick and choose some secondary keywords that are going to drive quality results and generate revenue to kind of fuel the rest of the marketing efforts and, whatnot. But, it's like, you go to a doctor and you're not going to do what they say. It's kind of like that. And I'm just being blunt, and I may piss people off, but I think it's important to realize, don't hamstring us from the get-go. And if your previous marketing company has done so, bear with us, because we're trying to do the right thing for you and get things under your control for the better, for the long term. But that may mean that, the first month may be crap, because it's just the situation that we find ourselves in.
Ken, you just triggered two things with me. One is
that what the twitch is?
We're complaining about clients. One is clients that don't take all the advice. You say you should do X, Y, and Z, and they say, well, I just want you to do Z. And then you really need to do X and Y. No, just do Z. We'll talk about that later. And then they go, hey, you're doing Z, but you're not getting results. It's like, why didn't you do X and Y?
Right.
And then the other is, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we're not rookies at this. Look, right now there is a proliferation of people who don't know jack shit about marketing, who are now calling themselves as marketing experts. Anytime there's a down economy, anytime there's a shift in, people doing mass job migrations, this is going to happen. We've been doing this my company, I started in 2005. I know you guys have been either in marketing or doing marketing for a very long time. We are not rookies at this. We know what it takes to get results.
Yeah. It almost seems you triggered another thought. Almost seems that is digital marketing the new realtor, right? Everyone rushed into being a realtor, right? And most realtors are not very good. They do 2 or 3 sales a year, I think, is the average.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone's a digital marketer these days, but they're not approaching it strategically. They're not approaching it holistically. The other pet peeve is clients that will constantly second guess. They'll go, well, I talked to this. So they met somebody at a network. They met a digital marketer at a networking event. Well, they said you should be doing it this way. They say, look, you hired us for our expertise. Let us do our job. If you don't like what we're doing, let's talk about it or fire us. But don't constantly say, well, somebody else said you should do it this way. Somebody else said you'd end up just, if you want to work with them, you can work with them.
Yeah. And look, I want my customers to give me recommendations. It's like if we write a blog post, for example, they're like, well, it's on our website, but we really don't want to do that. We really want to focus on, well, tell me, and we'll learn from that, and we'll make sure forward, or it's like, if you do find out something great because you went to a networking event, bring it to me, and maybe it's worth investigating, but don't make it sound like I'm not doing my job.
Yeah. Look, we are motivated to do the best we can for our clients because we want to keep them as clients and we want them to refer us to others. So why would we do anything less, right?
Yeah.
But there is a lot of bad, wrong, outdated information out there. If you want to give us feedback and information specific to your business, that's one thing. if you're going to go out there and Google tactics or how to do something, there's a lot of bad information. And a while back, we had a client. This was a few years, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I went to this website, and at the bottom of their website, they had all these keywords. Yeah, that's called keyword stuffing, and you'll get penalized for that.
Yeah. So, Ian, surely you've got to have a pet peeve. If not,
well, you know, I've got lots of pet peeves. I won't talk about
for political reasons. You're not going to bring them up.
No, the one thing I would, if I were to kind of give my biggest pet peeves, I would put 2 out there. One is marketers that are posers. I think you guys have kind of talked about that, but I would actually go as strongly as to say that there are some people that are fake it till they make it, and they have no substance or such little substance. In that world, I would say you have, just as an example, you have web development companies that claim they're SEO experts and that the websites they build are going to be SEO optimized. I would say like more than half of the websites we come across that once we're hired to fix problems were developed by a half decent web developer, but they knew nothing about SEO. And I'm not trying to paint the brush across every web developer, because there's obviously good ones, right? They have their core skill and then they add to that skill. But it's and I understand that sometimes you do have to fake it till you make it. But man, like that kind of stuff drives me nuts, because the words they use sound like the words we might use to express how we build websites that are going to help our clients. And so the client doesn't know how to differentiate, right? And so that drives me crazy a little bit. And then the multi-vendor approach, I think it can work, but you as the business owner become the conduit for all those vendors and basically the marketing manager for all those vendors, because they're working for you and they're looking to you for guidance. And I think as a bit of a pet peeve, I think business owners don't see it that way. They think, it's like, oh, okay, it's almost the equivalent of I'm going to buy my chips from this place, my Coke from that place, and it's all the same. But it's not, because you actually have to provide guidance. You have to understand the reports they're giving, whether they're good reports or crap reports, right? Like it's, I see a lot of problems in that method of marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you are going to have multi-vendor, one of those vendors has to serve as the marketing manager. You're just going to have to put your trust in one of those.
But it never does. I've never seen that.
I know. I agree. Because somebody has to have, look, I'm not a doctor. I am not going to prescribe medicine to people. I don't have that expertise. You have to do what you know and what you're strong at. And honestly, most businesses would be better served when their owners really focus on the things that they are the best at. And micromanaging a team of individual marketing companies is going to cause more problems, and it's going to dilute what you really should be working on. So
especially if you're not well versed and deep into what they do and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and whether they're telling the straight story or whether they're stretching things a little bit.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Yeah, it's just not a skill set that business owners have, nor should they.
Right. Yeah. It's not. I mean, it's not a criticism. It's why would you expect to have that expertise? So. All right. Well, we're up on an hour. I don't know that any of us thought we would go this long today, but as usual, we can usually find plenty to talk about. So I kind of thought this was fun, and I think it's pretty insightful. Hopefully, everybody listening or watching, is able to take away some stuff. Whether it's just a mundane thing that Jeff, whatever phrase you came up with. If you love what you do, it's not really work, or whatever it was. It's something as simple as that, or just before you hire your next marketing agency, realize what needs to be in place for them to have a chance to have success, whether it's one of us or anybody else out there. We all need that little bit of grace and understanding, because I think at least 80% of us out there really want to help our customers and deliver the best results possible. I do believe that. We're not an industry of charlatans. Tool vendors, beware of them. They have a hidden objective to sell their tool because it's good for them, not good for you. But a true marketing strategy focused business they shouldn't fall into that category. If they are, then they've sold their soul to the devil. So with that, Ian, I'm going to let you take us out.
I'm like, oh man, that's a strong way to end. That's good. Well, guys, thanks for sharing your thoughts and your insights. And to our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. Please like, share, spread the word. We're here to help. We love helping businesses thrive with their marketing, and in just, in business in general. So until next week, guys, keep calm and market on, folks.